Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. If you don't know who we are, I'm Cassandra, this is Mom, and we are Millennial and Mom, and we are here to talk about Married at First Sight Season 12 Episode 13 Unanswered Questions.
Right.
And I hope you guys are doing really good after that episode because it was a very interesting and kind of an intense episode for some of the couples, but we did get one of our questions answered.
Where is Dr. Pepper?
I know we was looking for her, and the other castmates were looking for her too. She finally came through. I was like, thank you, Dr. Pepper, and gave what should have been given a long time ago. But before we even get into that whole thing, we have to start off with the little tidbit scenes that we saw in the beginning of the episode because they were very interesting. So first person we're going to start off with is Virginia, her sister finally coming over with her twins that she talked about since forever.
Right, the reception. Right.
Sitting down with Eric, and she wants to know, like, hey, I haven't seen you guys in a long time. I usually talk to Virginia all the time.
Right.
So what is the tea? Like, what has been happening? But of course, they usually always start off with all the rose petals.
Right,
and
they
rainbows.
sugarcoat everything. They did, and I wasn't surprised at that they would do that, honestly. But then, you know, it's like, okay, well, let's go walk the dog. And so Eric takes out Rocky and the twins, and when they go outside,
that was my favorite part with the dog. He was like, sit down, sit down. I'm like, Eric, calm down.
But her sister was like, should I trust him with my kids? I'm like, the boys are old enough and there's two of them. Like, one could run back if necessary.
Right. And she was like, okay, so let's cut all that out. Like, what really has been like the main issues? And she's like, you know, Eric is controlling, which Mom finally sees in the light and acknowledges that he is controlling.
Remember the light, because it'll be coming up in a little while.
And she was also like, you know, his political views and my views don't really match up.
Yeah, the social views too don't really match up, and that could be a problem going forward. But the sister bottom lined it for her. It was like, you know what? If you click, you click. Pretty much when you know, you know.
That's it. I'm like, okay, sister, I guess gave her good enough advice for now, but we'll see how that will play out eventually. But then we get to the scene with Vincent and Brianna, because Brianna's like, we gotta sit down, do the math, the calculations, because Vincent has a business, he wants a house, but you know, I spent some money too, so we have to see how much money is going everywhere.
But I thought that was really good that they sat down to do that. Now they could have did it a little earlier, but at least they did it in advance, because I haven't seen no other couple do it yet, not this season anyways. But
I was about to say, well, Chris did bring up the bank situation.
But when they did sit down and she's going through expenses for her hair, his hair, waxing, cooking,
she
entertainment,
spends $400 on clothes.
But the point is, Vince is like, oh, well, maybe like $100 a month or something. And just like, he just seemed like real uncomfortable. And I think that's because, one, he's not maybe used to having the type of money Bree's having or making and or spending. And two, he just started up a new business and he can't right now.
Well, what I also think that made him uncomfortable is, in grand total, their whole month
was $9,000.
I was like, for y'all too?
Yes. Now, see, now I'm not gonna say I had a problem with that, but there is maybe something that you could possibly cut out $9,000 for
with
the month.
no kids and just cooking the dog. I was like, that is too much. But she was like, you know, I do like to go out. I do like to spend, you know, lavish things. And he's like, that's cool and all, but you know, we can like do something at the house.
Yeah.
Chill. We don't always have to go out. Because she was like, $250 on a date. That's just one date. You expect that for the whole month?
Right.
I'm like, where are you going, Brianna?
Well, like I said, if you make it, you can spend it, no kids, stuff like that. But there is such things as compromise, and that's what Vinny was trying to get her to see. You know, it's going to a lot of back and forth compromising really is going to be on Brianna's part, if you ask me.
All right, so now we move on to the good part of this whole episode, where the couples are meeting individually with one of the experts. So we're just going to start off with Virginia. She meets with Pastor Cal. And Pastor Cal's like, you know, how's everything going since I last saw you at the honeymoon? And she was like, we click together, we vibe, we are a great match.
Mm-hmm.
So Pastor Cal's like, that's cute, but like, what is the unanswered question that you have? And hers is basically, Eric has an ultimatum for Virginia, is that, she has to have kids as soon as possible.
Right.
And when we say as soon as possible, we say within the next month. No longer than a year, tops.
Yeah, and that has always been an issue with Virginia, and clearly has been an issue with Eric too. But we also delve into the reasons why, because she talks to Pastor Cal about, she's had a similar conversation with her dad. And again, I believe I mentioned this before, it goes back to her childhood, the reasons why she doesn't necessarily want to have kids right now. She's scared, one, to have them, and then what kind of mom she's going to be.
Yeah.
And Pastor Cal is trying to reassure her, like, you're going to be their parent. You are and can be the best mom you want to be, because...
Or you can be.
Right, I see how you are now, and, trying to reassure her with that. But Virginia has so many hang-ups and issues, it seems like, from her past, that she doesn't want to recreate that in her own children. Mm-hmm. And she feels deeply that she probably will, and that's one thing that's holding her back. And Eric pushing her to do so, have kids right now, is really pushing her away.
Yeah, and she also says that she wants to have a more trusting marriage within that. And Pastor Cal was like, well, are you relating that to Eric? She's like, no, but you know what? Maybe I should. And Pastor Cal just offers her to be more vulnerable with Eric. I don't know how that'll go, but we'll let her figure it out on her own.
Yeah.
Because then we see Eric talk to Dr. Pepper, and of course, he says the same thing as well.
Yeah. Just like, everything's going fine, we connected, but all the couples say they connected. I was very surprised that all the couples said that they connected at first. Well, all but maybe
you already know the couple.
But the thing is that came up along the way was the relationship with the dog, Rocky.
Right. I was like, the dog?
Yeah, because Dr. Pepper said, we've heard some things. There we go, production telling people on the side.
Right, but they don't show up for that.
Exactly. And she tried to get Eric to see that, yes, that's her dog, and even though you want to be the dog parent too, like, what if this was her child from a previous relationship? Where did you just feel that you could just step in right away and just like take over? Like, things take time. You have to grow with these things. And Eric seemed like he got the message.
He did seem like he got it this time around. Mm-hmm. But then she also wants him to like give him like, what is the other unanswered question that you still have? And his thing is, he wanted someone who is independent, but she's a little bit too independent for Eric. Uh-huh. And basically, he don't want her to go out anywhere. That's what I got from that whole thing.
Yeah, he doesn't want her to go out anywhere. I still believe there's a trust issue with Virginia and her friends, because ever since she said that she can
crash
pass out
on
someone else's couch, her good male friends, he's not with that, and I could understand that part, but I was happy that Dr. Pepper brought up the alcohol issue.
Yeah, she was the first one to do so.
Right, because I think she was saying it without saying it, like, do you think there's a problem?
She said it. Basically,
yeah.
Anything more than 4 drinks is too much all the time. So when they get back to the house to have the conversation, I'm not gonna say I had high hopes for the conversation, but I kind of knew that the conversation, like, something was gonna happen in between it, because of course they start off with the kid situation first, and she tells him her fears about possibly being a bad parent because of what she's been through. She doesn't want to put it on the child, so that's why she wants to wait a little bit. And Eric was so nice to her at first. He was like, I think you're going to be an awesome mom because of everything I've seen you do with kids.
Yeah.
You're going to be great and fantastic. I'm like, Eric, I know that you're about to slip some BS in there somewhere.
Well, I don't think it was naturally BS. I think he was trying to slip in the entire conversation that he had with Dr. Pepper, because I think that he felt like some of his things he was feeling has been validated. But when he got to the point of planning things out and the drinking, like maybe I should have rational conversations without the drinking, Virginia was like, I don't want to talk about it. And that's when, to me, they went back to square one.
Well, I think they went back to square one because Eric was trying to get her to see a compromise with going out with him once a month. And she was like, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Let's just plan something. And he was like, well, you know, sometimes I just can't plan anything in advance like that. So you need to cancel on your friends when I want to do something. And it's like, you already know Virginia's not with that. So you're trying to make a compromise, but you're not even trying to compromise within the compromise. So now we're going to move on to the couple that I just thought was hilarious. At least one person. And that was when Dr. Pepper sat down with Ryan, because Ryan, I have no idea what world Ryan is living in, but clearly it's a world where everything is just going great and pleasant. Maybe because, you know, Clara be getting Ryan off. I think that's why he's just so happy.
Ryan lives in his own world, his own reality. Remember, he's the best thing that's happened. Well, excuse me, he's one of the better couples that's been on here. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the world he's living in.
And Dr. Pepper was like, okay, well, if that's what you see in yourself, mm-hmm. So what is a possible issue that you could have, because everyone's not perfect, with Clara? Like, have you talked about the spirituality? Did you talk about, you know, raising your family in a Christian household? He was like, you know,
let me get it for you. Yeah, sure. Okay, so,
oh, yeah.
You know, we talked about the religion thing, and I think that, you know, we've had pretty in-depth conversations. Now, one thing, when he said that, I was like, you're right, Ryan. You did have in-depth conversations. Mm-hmm. I said it before.
Past tense, did.
But it was on the honeymoon. You haven't had in-depth conversations since. Clara's sexually frustrated. She don't know where you stand.
You don't know nothing about that.
Nothing. But see, since Ryan's family is in the church, they're pastors, he wants to raise the kids that way. And again, this is nothing we don't already know. Mm-hmm. But I just don't think that he's explaining himself to Clara. And I don't think that particular topic comes up often enough, honestly, because that is not their issue. The issue is sexual frustration and the lack of
to who?
Romance.
To Ryan?
That's the issue in their relationship.
Ryan said he don't see the issue. He never thought of it like that. Like,
Exactly.
Well, maybe. I should ask her. So then we get to Pastor Cal talking to Clara, and she's like, you know, this is such a best match for me.
No problem.
I give it a 10 out of 10.
I was like, what?
Like, you are lying through your teeth. Like, weren't you the same woman who was bashing Ryan the last episode?
Wasn't she the same woman who talked venting and all that stuff and will get kicked out of the circle of trust? Is that true, Clara? Because I was like 10 out of 10.
Right.
Come on.
I was like, what is the issue? Like, I know that there's an issue somewhere. And of course, the same issue always comes back to him not saying, I love you. Mm-hmm. You know, she wants to express that, but she can't really express that just yet because she doesn't want to go deep while he's still being surface level. And Pastor Cal was like, well, you know, it can't be a 10 out of 10 if this is an issue.
Well, in my opinion, exactly. And if this is the best relationship you ever had, I mean, and you're sexually frustrated the way that you are, can't be. Something's wrong here. She needs to figure out what it is that she needs to do. And even Pastor Cal was like, you have to express this to him. But since Ryan hasn't said the L word, he hasn't loved anyone before, and she has.
And we found out that this is a thing for Ryan. He don't be having sex in his relationships.
Now, you know what? There's nothing wrong with being, you know, there's celibate.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it always goes back to the point where Clara is still giving. Hopefully she stopped at this point of her marriage, and she's not receiving nothing. That's the biggest issue.
But when they come back together, they talk about, you know, what was going on, you know, what they learned from or had to say from Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper. I was real interested in Ryan's answers when Clara said, well, you know, do you ever think you'll get to the point of having sex? He was like, I don't know.
Timeline.
I was like,
but what he did have an answer for was him raising his future kids in a Christian household. Because Clara was like, you know, I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
I just want my kids to be able to explore more options, different religions. His face, if looks could kill, it would have happened. Well, let's see who is next up. Oh, the next person on the list who is sitting down with somebody is Dr. Pepper and our girl, or your girl,
who?
Paige. the first thing Dr. Pepper did when she saw Paige was apologize.
As well as she should have.
She should have apologized. Apologized for not being there. Apologized for setting her up with this man. I mean, yes, she did say, you know, what he said on paper and what he said to us and what has happened are all different things.
And I have known that. I've always said that too. You know, it's not about the me show. But I'm just saying, when you come on a show like Married at First Sight, what you say on paper and when you say that experts, that's the only thing they could go on. They can't tell if you're going to be physically attracted to somebody. I just thought that was obvious to most people. Clearly it's not.
She said she didn't realize the mess of a life he had behind that facade, that curtain. I was like, ooh, Dr. Pepper.
And she said he's a clear narcissist. And I am not mixing
my
words.
I was like, you better read him scholarly. Thank you. This is what I wanted Dr. Viviana to do, but she didn't. Mm-hmm. Dr. Pepper definitely gave in this episode.
Right.
And Paige, you know, she was just saying, you know, how she felt during the experience and, you know, especially when it came to the part where Dr. Pepper was like, you know, there is actually one question that I have for you, because I know you still have unanswered questions.
Right.
Why'd you meet with the fiance? I was like, thank you for asking her that question.
Right.
Why did she meet?
Right.
What was her answer? She didn't really give an answer. She was like, you know, I just wanted to see things through and see things out and all that other stuff. It's like, no, you should have done all that. You should have met with him. We already knew that, and you knew that too.
But that's the only thing that she can say, Paige, that she want to see things through because of the process. I want to go and be supportive of my husband, this and that. And Dr. Pepper was like, girl, know your value, know your worth. He did that, to hurt you.
Especially with the car situation.
And you don't need that in your life from a narcissist.
Period.
You need to learn the value of yourself and to learn the signs. And if someone presents themselves to you like that in the future, it's a no-go. Mm-hmm. And I was like, thank you, another professional.
Someone who gave her good advice, because her brother, her two therapists, Pastor Cal and Dr. Viviana, those are 5 people who failed her. Dr. Pepper actually gave her something this time. Now, we move on to your other boy, Christopher. Because Pastor Cal is meeting with Christopher, but he is late.
He is 45 minutes late. And one thing that I don't care for is someone, if you're going to be late, you need to let me know. We're on a time schedule, time crunch.
Christopher is not going to do that. Pastor Cal was like, are we going to wrap this up? Like, are we finished?
That's
or
what
are
I'm
we
saying.
Done? Like,
right.
What are we doing right now? And he kind of just walks on in. He did apologize, I guess, because, you know, Christopher likes to get his credit. He did apologize. But then, you know, Pastor Cal was like, this has been the hardest relationship on the show, because we had such high hopes for you guys. Because, you know, even like Christopher realized they match well on paper.
Let me do Pastor Cal.
You have to do him the whole segment.
Look, I have to take my glasses off.
You would have to do that.
I don't even need them right now.
Exactly. He did that the whole time with his answers, but Pastor Cal was like, y'all match really good on paper. But then Christopher said, you know, there's all a bunch of beautiful black queens, beautiful white queens, beautiful Spanish queens in Atlanta, and you give me Mr. Woo Woo.
Oh, don't point at me. Do not point at me. I am not Mr. or Miss Woo Woo. Because let me tell you something. He said that he was not attracted to her face or nothing. I thought you was attracted to her body because that's what you...
I know, tapping him up.
Your daddy and the
congregation,
some of the men in congregation at your reception was looking at her body. So you was attracted to something. But he just... demeaned her from top to bottom, like how could you, like, ew, like that's your fault, that's the expert's fault, that's not what I said I wanted. Now how in the world does that show that you were ready for marriage if you talk about her appearance when we match you on paper and the things that you say? You know what, Chris, he has already lost a lot of respect and everything else, but he has really showed his
you don't feel like it.
He's really showed his real true colors with this right here, where he's coming from, his immaturity level, his lack of awareness, his lack of self-awareness, his lack
tact.
of everything.
Yes.
And you know what? Pastor Cal being Pastor Cal went ahead and carried on the conversation anyway, so.
He did. And then also something that really bothered me was Pastor Cal was like, you know, you did all this stuff to Paige, but like, you don't want to be with her, but moving forward, you know, maybe you should think about this in your next relationship because you already been engaged, you know, previous times. And I'm like, you knew that and you still brought him on the show. I was so upset with that comment because to me, it's like, you guys kind of already set Paige up for failure. Pastor Cal was like, you know, do you feel like you owe Paige like an apology? Like,
no.
you bought your girl, excuse me, his baby mom a whole car. He was like, she could have came.
I was out there. Child, I was out there.
I haven't walked away from the camera since the beginning of the season.
I was out there.
Almost did it.
He said I bought Mercedes and Mercedes. She could have came, and he was like, "Why? Why would she come?" See, he's so careless. He's so reckless. He didn't care about nothing. Only cares about Chris, and that's it. And let's move on.
We're gonna move on, but then finally we see Paige back at the house. She packing up. I'm like, you should have never packed the place in the first place. Like, did you really think he was gonna come? She did. I don't know why I asked that question. Well, good for you, Paige. You're finally leaving the house. Go get comfortable at your own place. So now, let's move on to Dr. Pepper sitting down with Brianna. How did you feel about that?
I felt it was regular Brianna conversation. I feel that Brianna, she's trying to learn Vinny. She's trying to learn how he works, how he adapts to things. But I think Brianna is so focused and career driven that she really can't see that, even though she says she's trying. I think she's really having a hard time with her marriage right now. I think things are good on the surface, but that's it.
Yeah, it goes back down to communication because Brianna said it, and later on Vincent's gonna say it too. Because Brianna is more direct, where Vincent is more, he'll push it off until a little bit later and cuss you out. That's pretty much Vincent's MO from what I see. But other than that, they say that they're having a good time, but she has this thing that she knows that Vincent wants to have kids. Once again, sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But she is fearful, just like Virginia, about having kids, her body changing, and she has high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's a big factor with being pregnant. And she was like, Dr. Pepper asked, well, have you told Vinny this? Have you expressed this fear to him? She was like, no, I haven't yet.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, maybe that's something that you should do.
Right. I agree that she should, because if you're having these issues, and we learned that early on, I'm not sure, maybe she was talking to the ladies about her health condition, about her having high blood pressure, stuff like that. But, you know, that just means you're higher risk, and you just have to be monitored more. I think it's maybe the fear of actually carrying the child, because that's one of the things she said the most, is carrying the child and actually delivering the baby.
Mm-hmm. And then we see Vincent with Pastor Cal, and you know, Pastor Cal looked at the shoes. He was like, your shoes are good. He was like, you know, Brianna bought them for me. He was like, oh, well, she's a keeper right there. And Vincent's like, yeah, I really enjoy Brianna. He really likes her. I think he really does like her.
I think so.
But once again, it goes back to the communication aspect.
Communication and the finances, for sure.
Because, you know, Brianna's more direct. Vincent is not.
Right. Vincent said something very interesting. He said that he feels Brianna is narrow-minded. I was like, no, that's interesting.
I don't get narrow-minded from Brianna when I see her on TV. I more so get that from Vincent.
The conversation, you know, always comes up again about, so what are the things that you can work on? What's going on? Like, where can you improve?
Right. When he said, you know, she likes to wake me up early in the morning, I was like, that's it? She wakes you up early?
Well, he said his business and he likes to sleep. He's tired, he needs his rest.
But how's that a problem?
Well, maybe Brianna likes to get up when the birds get up. You know, so everybody don't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's fine, but I don't think that's like a huge problem.
It's not a huge problem, but clearly he likes his rest and he feels like he's not getting enough, and he doesn't feel like he should get up when she gets up, especially if something can wait.
That's true, but it all goes back to when they meet up with each other later on back at their house. They didn't really talk about waking up early in the morning, so that wasn't an issue. It was the finances and the baby. Brianna was not really compromising with the finances part, in my opinion. Did you think so?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Because she's used to making the type of money she makes, and she's used to being single and alone, you know, or not in a serious relationship. She's used to spending on what she wants. And, you know, when they did the finances thing together, she's like, oh, I get my hair done, I do this, do that. And when it came to $9,000, she couldn't find a place to compromise. So
that's true. But then when we got on the conversation of the baby topic, and Brianna did seem kind of like hesitant to say, you know, I do want to wait a little bit longer because, you know, she's scared, and, you know, the high blood pressure thing. And I really genuinely thought that Vincent was going to be very compassionate towards Brianna, but it was the opposite. He seemed more irritated, and it was like, well, you know, that just is a better reason for you to do it earlier. Moving on for them, we're going on to someone who is definitely Mom's favorite person, Haley, because she is sitting down with Dr. Pepper. And you know what I found very interesting about Haley?
what?
That she had all these nice things to say about Jacob. He's independent, he's loyal. Like, if I call him now, he'll be down to, you know, do anything with me. He has a good job, he's stable. And I'm like, she's naming off really great qualities that lots of people are looking for. But yet, she doesn't like him because she can't find no attraction. And she don't understand why she can't.
I don't either. But she named everything, like I said, that's positive about Jacob. Well, you know, you don't have to be attracted to somebody to know if they are a positive person or a negative person. And Jacob has always, to me, presented himself positive, because even Dr. Pepper asked, what are the negatives? And the only thing she could come up with is, you know, we're just not connecting, and he can't tell me what he did 10 years ago.
I know. I was like,
I mean, 10 years ago, Haley,
goodness.
you was what, 17? I mean, does it matter what he did 10 years ago? Because you were in high school.
Yeah, and then something else, Dr. Pepper, is like, you know, it's kind of puzzling to me that you guys haven't really, like, learned anything about each other. And it seems to me, Haley, that you're not making the changes. It's more so Jacob. And I was like, that was Mom right there. She pointed that out a long time ago.
I was like, did Dr. Pepper read my mind and listen to our lives and reviews? Exactly. They also did flashbacks to the honeymoon. And I said then, this is where she owes Jacob an apology from the very beginning. She sat on that bed after she came back from drinking with the girls' night and, you know, leaving when he came away. Like, I'm just not attracted to you, this and that. And then along, you know, with the clothes, and, you know, we do all the go-kart racing and the hanging out with the friends. We're doing things that you like to do. Jacob has conformed for you. You've done nothing for Jacob.
You forgot, we forgot the tissue because we had our good sis Haley start crying because
I still didn't know why.
she just doesn't want to feel like a failure with the marriage. And Dr. Pepper was like, wait, you still got time. You still got 3 weeks left. So you can work on making this a good marriage if you want to.
I think it's like you can work on maintaining a friendship maybe, and that's about it. But then when we get to Jacob talking to Pastor Cal, I was surprised that he said things were going good. There was initial connection, well, at least for him.
He said physical.
And then he also went on to say that, you know, he would continue to try to make it work. I'm like, you would, Jacob?
Well, yeah, because this goes back to what he said since the beginning. He feels like this is his last chance at being married and being with someone. And I'm like, Jacob, I promise this is not your last chance.
Right.
If Haley don't see the good qualities in you, even though I'm not very fond of Jacob, someone else is definitely going to find some good
Haley
qualities.
sees the good qualities, but she's just not attracted to you. So it's not going to work. It doesn't matter the good things that you do. There's just no attraction there.
And Pastor Cal says, I understand that you are ready for marriage, and he really wants them to work it out.
Yeah, I was surprised they said that, but they say that to everybody, so maybe not.
They do say that to everybody. They probably said it to Chris and Paige. But before they got back to the house, your girl Haley got on the camera and was like, you know, Dr. Pepper gave some really good advice to us. You know, maybe we should talk to each other and learn more about each other.
So did the tarot card read.
Yes, Pastor Cal and Dr. Viviana, like everyone's been telling you this. Oh, and her friend, the bridesmaid. But Haley doesn't want to do this. So when they get back, Haley then decides to ask, what happened in the 10 years that you were in Atlanta? And he finally opens up and says, I was dating, my friends were getting married and stuff, nothing really happened. I was trying to look for something to happen. And then he asked Haley, like, why do you want only things your way or no way? And she goes back and say, that 5-year relationship I had, everything was so controlling. So she doesn't want to be controlled anymore. She wants to do her own thing. But I think Haley is blocking her potential blessing within Jacob because she can't move past what happened.
Not just within Jacob, just her blessings in general, because she, like you said, she can't move past. But when he finally said that 10 years, what he was doing, she's like, oh, I feel so much better. And I'm like, do you? Do you, Haley? Because I don't think that you do.
She had to say something. She's trying.
Okay.
She's trying.
All right.
All right, so that was pretty much what happened on this week's episode. I am really happy that we had Dr. Pepper come in.
Yeah.
And I really wish they did stuff like this often, because I think more couples would have a better chance at making it through than having them, thrown off to the wolves.
Well, they would have a better chance of making it through if they really had a connection. And if they really didn't have connection, then they would have a easier time separating if it came down to it.
What did you think about this episode, Mom?
I really appreciate this episode. It was finally an episode where we learned a little bit more about the individuals, not just couples, individuals, and what they were thinking and how they feel about their marriage
and spouses.
Yeah, so it was a good one for once.
It was. So let us know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching this week's video. We are going to go live to talk about this week's episode this Sunday at what time?
We'll let you know.
Coming soon, but definitely this Sunday. So thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already yet, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and all that great stuff.
Thank you all again for watching. And as always, live simply, be grateful.